Gene editing may not be something a lot of people know about, but it's about to become something we may all be unable to ignore. Most of us know what genes are, as in the genes of one's DNA that are passed from a parent to a child and are responsible for physical traits such as hair or eye color.
DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA is a double-stranded molecule composed of sugar, phosphate, and 4 different bases. These bases spell out the language known as the genetic code. The number and order of these 4 bases determine, for example, whether you are a chimp, a cow, a banana, or a human. These recipes are passed down from parents to children, from generation to generation.
What is gene editing? Gene editing is the act of artificially inserting or removing genes for one's own purposes. In the last decade, gene editing has been used to make biofuel, a more resilient fruit, or even a tastier beer. But there's so much more it can do. Have a family history of a debilitating condition? Don't want to pass this on to your children? Gene editing could be used to eliminate the chances of a hereditary disease such as Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. It could also be used for purely cosmetic purposes, such as changing the genes of a child's height, hair, or eye color. Such practices could also lead to designer pets, or even designer children. Up until now, gene editing has been something out of reach of the public, but with the arrival of CRISPR technology, available for sale to anyone online, we face the possibility of the public making real changes to our gene pool. But what is CRISPR? A delicious cracker chip hybrid available in stores now? No, CRISPR stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats. And in short, it's a way of editing DNA that was patented in 2014 and has ever since been making scientific journals. But is the public aware of this CRISPR technology?
Have you heard of CRISPR technology?
Yes.
Have you heard of CRISPR technology?
I have absolutely not heard of CRISPR technology.
No.
No?
No, until you told me about it, I hadn't heard anything about it.
We also conducted an informal questionnaire of 40 people. To the question, "Are you aware of CRISPR technology?" we received 14 yeses with 26 nos. We wanted to ask people some simple questions in regards to how CRISPR might become used in the field of medical science.
If CRISPR could be used to edit out hereditary disorders such as a disability, would you approve or feel a little uneasy about that?
Well, I know that genetically I may be in line for Alzheimer's because both my parents have it and my dad's family has it, and there's some on my mom's side. So, I mean, if somebody could go in and clip out that, I'd be happy. But I do realize that there's dangers.
Say if you were to edit out a hereditary trait like Alzheimer's or other disabilities and stuff like that, would you feel it's morally acceptable or kind of on the gray area? Or
I'm fine with that.
I think it opens up a lot of problems, and but also clearly some opportunities, perhaps for people who are going to have maybe like physical disabilities or just like long-term life impairments that people maybe would like to find solutions for.
For me, the danger in terms of genome manipulation is you could be creating organisms that have no counterpart in the ecosystem, and let's say a runaway. Exactly.
I think that's fascinating. I think there's many positives, but many negatives. It's going to be an interesting future. I mean, if you could really heal some very serious disease, some very critical diseases, and extend life and quality of life, and you could prove that, you wouldn't want to take that away.
Back to our poll results. We asked our sampling if they would support the use of gene editing to remove hereditary diseases or disabilities. We received 27 in the yes column, with 5 saying no, and 8 people were undecided.
Would you consider it morally acceptable for someone to edit in, to an unborn baby, purely physical or mental traits? No, not at all.
No, I don't think so. I think that's playing with fire.
For kind of modeling or curating your ideal baby, I think it opens a host of sort of dystopian science fiction scenarios that would be kind of scary.
If you find that it's being used in a way that people are disadvantaged or discriminated against in ways we can't even imagine.
People are going to want to do that, so,
People are going to want to do that, you think?
Exactly, but it's not going to affect the entire population or anything that I can see. I always think these fears of, would it be okay for me to clone myself? Maybe I want to have a clone.
We then asked if they would support the use of gene editing to be used for purely physical traits. 2 people said yes, 30 people said no, and 8 were undecided. Patenting genes. In 2013, the United States Supreme Court found that naturally occurring genes are ineligible for patenting. However, synthetically produced genetic sequences are patentable. In the US and the UK, anyone may patent the scientific process in which a gene is obtained or used.
And do you feel that there should be any legal limits applied to, that governments apply to people doing research on these sorts of things? Or?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, if it's legitimate research, then I guess that's okay. But if it's just something off the internet, then no.
You're going to have these competing interests where you've got groups that are interested in wanting to patent, having to establish their strong arguments for or against it, and then you're going to have groups that are going to come up with challenges. So hopefully there'll be enough of a discussion within society that people will be able to move forward.
Well, I mean, it should be under some sort of review, I would imagine.
I don't know that the sort of law and or political safeguards around this sort of scientific engineering are up to date on those kinds of questions. So I really believe that those patents should be accessible within like public domain. Like I don't think there should be private patents on that kind of technology.
In our poll, we also asked if people believed there should be some legal limits to the use of gene editing. We received 33 people saying yes to legal limits, with 2 people saying no, and 5 undecided. Canada currently does not have any laws specifically regarding gene editing, other than some for genetically modified foods. Cloning. In Canada, cloning is only allowed for research, with reproductive cloning being illegal. This is the same for the United Kingdom as well as China. In the United States, however, all 3 types of cloning are federally legal. However, several states have implemented their own cloning laws that either restrict or outright ban cloning. But these laws may not take into account a cloning technique used with patented genes. What happens if a corporation sells a product with an edited gene? Do they forever own the patent on that life? It's not like corporations have not attempted this before. Sony in 2010 and GM and John Deere in 2015 have fought to prevent users from installing custom firmware on their products, stating that as they own the code on a product, you in fact do not truly own that product. John Deere told copyright offices that farmers don't really own their tractors because computer code snakes through the DNA of modern tractors. Farmers receive an implied license for the life of the vehicle to operate. What about the case of Monsanto Canada Incorporated versus Schmeiser? In 2014, Monsanto sought a license fee and eventually sued a farmer who they claim was growing seeds created under their gene patent. The farmer simply had found the seeds on his land and cultivated them. He asserted that because the seeds were found on his land, he had ownership. However, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled 5-4 in favor of Monsanto, stating the defendants infringed on Monsanto's patent by planting the harvested seeds. Now, you cannot legally own human life, but what about life created with patented genes? This could be the precedent for corporations asserting just this. Should the government make laws solidifying living rights to make firm that a life, however created, cannot be owned? If you purchase a pet made with patented genes, are you allowed to breed that pet? If gene editing becomes popular and not made accessible to the general public, would we see a world where only the super rich are free of disease, where class and economic boundaries are also drawn in the gene pool? Some have called for gene editing to be fully banned, while others feel no patents should be issued. But not allowing companies to profit from discoveries would lead to stagnation in scientific research. Perhaps patented genes could take the same route as drug patents. In Canada and the US, patents for drugs are granted for 20 years. After that, the drug is released and generic versions are allowed to be produced and sold at a lower price. Now, a good deal of this is conjecture, but based on current patent laws and precedents, we are very likely to see new legal battles fought over edited genes. Canada and the US have some laws pertaining to cloning and elements of gene patenting. However, they fail to fully tackle the ethical and sociological implications that may very well affect the public in the near future.